Good afternoon and welcome to the Basics of Flight Plan Filing with ForeFlight. My name is Rob MacLeod. I am an FAA aircraft dispatcher, commercial pilot, AGI, and I have the pleasure and privilege of flying the Phenom 300 and Citation 560 Ultra. And I'm also the customer success manager. Joining me today is my good friend and colleague, Tim Stahl. And Tim, introduce yourself, please.
Howdy, I'm Tim Stahl. I'm a FAA aircraft dispatcher, commercial pilot, and flight operations team leader.
And in case you're wondering who's who in this picture, Tim is the one wearing the tie.
No. I'm the one that shaved.
Okay. Anyway, so here's what we're going to go over today. We're going to talk about some helpful tricks to make ForeFlight easier to use, things we wish that every user knew before filing or flying with ForeFlight. We're going to talk about things such as setup, flight planning, a little bit of, we're not going to teach you how to flight plan, but we're going to talk a little bit about flight planning, some tricks for flight planning, and then we're going to cover filing. We want this to be a very informal, friendly conversation. We're going to try to keep it light, entertaining. We may crack some bad jokes. We'll probably
There will be bad
jokes in here. But you know, just if you were hanging out with us, we were all friends. We were sitting at the FBO, and you told us that you just got a ForeFlight subscription. We would, first of all, thank you very, very much for supporting our lifestyle. And then we would tell you,
thanking you for the coffee.
Yeah, Tim would be thanking you for the coffee. But then we'd say, okay, let me just show you how to really use this product really well. Because ForeFlight is a tool, and you have to learn how to use it well, and you have to practice with it. We understand that not everybody who's starting to use ForeFlight is a new pilot. You're just new to this tool. And we want to help you learn this tool as best as possible, especially in the realm of filing, flight planning, that type of thing. Now, with that being said, what we will not cover is dispatch, logbook, weight and balance, or anything having to do with subscriptions. Let's keep it in the sweet spot, in the areas that Tim and I actually know.
But if you do have a question about dispatch, logbook, weight and balance, subscriptions, etc., including the stuff we are going to talk about, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We have an entire team of fanatical support people who are happy to help you, and you can reach them by emailing team@foreflight.com.
Right, but if you have a more urgent question, you want to ask something during the webinar,
yes,
then
ask during the webinar, but keep it to the filing.
Yeah, keep it to the subjects that we talked about earlier. You can ask questions via the GoToWebinar message panel. We'll respond to some during the presentations and many others at the Q&A at the end. Now, if you have a question and it's just sitting there for a while, don't be too alarmed. We see it. I think I got five other people here backing us up on this. We may be getting to that answer later in the webinar, but we do and we will address every question that comes in, unless you ask us what a flight plan is. Then you need to go back to somebody else for help on that. But anything having to do with ForeFlight, we'll help you with. One thing I would suggest, if you haven't already been there, go to foreflight.com/support and then put in a keyword search of new user webinar links. And what that's going to do is that is going to bring you to a screen that's going to look like this. And this is going to give you links to a lot of the other articles or webinars or support pages that we're going to reference during this webinar. So that's going to be really important. And if you haven't been in the support page, we've just got tons of stuff in there. We write a lot of user education material and record a lot of videos and webinars and put them in there for you because we want you to be a well-educated and informed user of the ForeFlight product.
Yeah, and we suggest doing that ahead of actually going to fly. I mean, don't hop into the cockpit with this device and go, okay, I downloaded ForeFlight, let's make things happen. You really have to learn the product prior to getting into the airplane. Absolutely.
One other thing, we always bring this up. We are doing this live, and Tim and I are not media experts, but thankfully we have friends nearby who will help us out. If anything goes wrong, we're going to immediately try to fix it as best we can. But just remember, this is not our first skill point here. So anyways, let's get started. So I'm going to go back to the screen we were just previous on, and let's just talk about things that you're going to want to do prior to taking your first flight using ForeFlight. First of all, I would say spend some time in the pilot's guide. Yes, it's a large document. I understand
like 400 pages.
It's a large
that's
document.
A lot of coffee.
It is. Need. And some of it may not apply to the type of flying you're doing or even the subscription level that you have. So, but it's going to answer a lot of the basic questions. You can go in there and, do the old command
I was
F.
about to say the control F
There
to
you
make
go.
things faster.
And find the stuff in there. So we wrote it in such a way that it's easy to navigate, easy for you to understand. Remember, we're pilots just like you. So we know how we like things to be simple. So spend some time in the pilot's guide. Also, Tim's going to go into depth about setting up your airplane. And I just can't stress enough is to gather as much information about the airplane you're going to be flying beforehand. So, get, if you own the airplane, obviously you're going to have the POH. What are you going to say, Tim? You keep looking at me.
Well, I was going to say, and Rob, what if I'm renting the airplane?
Well,
what do I do then?
Well, if you're renting the airplane, Tim, so I know the place that I rent, they keep the manuals and all that stuff in a sealed bag that you can't open up, but you can get information from the FBO. They'll give you information. There's also a lot of times stuff on the internet when they're, so if they're trying to advertise,
tool.
Advertise, hey, come out and fly with us because we've got this in the airplane and we've got this. So spend some time getting that information. Obviously, gather your POH, all the stuff on your avionics, find your weight and balance documentation. That's all going to be important to you, depending on, what level of subscription you're going to have.
Transponder type, ADSB.
Yeah, right.
Ground.
Get all that stuff. And we have a lot of links. So if you have a particular type of transponder and you're trying to figure out what the codes are, I bet you we've seen it before and it's somewhere in our support page. Or you could reach out to
team@ForeFlight.com.
Thanks, Tim. All right. The other thing is kind of like what Tim said before, practice using the app. Become an armchair pilot. Figure out, when you press on this, that this happens, and just get used to it. And pretty soon you're going to be as efficient as Tim is, where he can fly an ILS, brew a pot of coffee, and use ForeFlight with his thumb all at the same time. It's pretty amazing to see you do that. So
I'd like to see me do that.
Well, I'll take a picture next
Oh,
time.
okay, thanks.
And then finally, go into the support page, find videos, webinars, read articles. A lot of it will clear it up. If in the end you still can't find the answer, you can go to
team@ForeFlight.com.
Great.
Everybody drink that cup of coffee.
Thank you very much. One last thing, and this came up in a previous webinar that we were part of last week, and I just thought it was something I wanted to bring up on this because we do this differently, like every month. It's different,
Right, because it's live.
And we come up
semi-scripted.
right.
But, yeah.
So before you start using ForeFlight, run it, just like you'd run a checklist on the airplane, just do a little mental checklist on ForeFlight. Ask yourself, is your iPad, is it powered up for flight plus your 45-minute reserves? Do you have the latest version? Do you have all the downloads, all the available information?
Have you packed?
Yeah. Have you hit the
Yeah,
pack
we'll go over
button,
pack.
which we'll talk about there? Do you have a backup plan? Are you flying around with just ForeFlight and you don't have any
Yeah,
actual charts?
What happens if the iPad fails?
Yeah.
I mean, iOS devices never crash or anything.
I mean, they're pretty darn reliable, but just in case you don't want to be, out there at night, it's gonna be a bad thing.
Yeah, when
So-
the DE fails, your iPad have a
Yeah. When your examiner does it to you. So
That's it.
anyways, so that's enough of me gabbing. So I'm going to turn this over to Tim, and he's going to talk about setting up an airplane. So I'm switching it over to you,
Okay,
and
so-
it is your airplane, Tim.
Thank you, Rob. We're going to go through this as quickly as I can and hit some of the items that are sticky spots for new users. We could do a deep dive on this. In fact, we have. So if you need more information, please take a look at the shameless plug ICAO filing made easy webinar. A couple of knuckleheads did that one a while back. Let's go ahead and go in and set up an aircraft. So here we are. And I have to let everybody know that we're having an issue with the basic. So this is actually my Performance Plus subscription. So it might be a little different subscription level than what you're running, but here we go. So we'll go and tap aircraft, and we're going to create a new aircraft by tapping the plus sign. Tap tail number, and for this one, don't just put 1, 2, 3, 4. Put if you're in the United States and it's American registered aircraft, put a November or 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, obviously you'd use your own aircraft. Then drop down to the aircraft type.
Sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to do that.
Whoop. You playing with stuff over there?
Yeah, sorry, I moved a window I wasn't supposed to.
Okay. See, this is live, everybody.
It is live.
All right, so we'll put in the manufacturer here. And then we'll go down through the aircraft that exist. And the reason for this, you'll see on the right-hand side, there are different codes per aircraft as we roll on through here. And so 172 might be different between a 172, a C172, and say a C72R for the RG type. And you want to make sure you get the right one. We're going to select this one, 172R. We'll go down. Some of this pre-fills in for you. Performance profiles, because we're using a Performance Plus subscription, there are a number of performance profiles that exist. They are pre-done based on manufacturer supplied data. If you're running a basic profile, a basic subscription, you will need to create your own basic performance profile. And so what you'll do is you'll go into here and you'll tap Add Basic Performance Profile. The two things you really have to have that are required,
and that's why they're highlighted.
That's why they're highlighted, and you can't get out of it until you put something in there. So you need to put in the cruise speed and the cruise burn. So we're going to pretend that this thing does 110 knots, and we're going to burn 9 gallons an hour. And I know that's not completely accurate. I'm just throwing stuff in there. Okay. So, well, we ought to put a name in here too, right? How about basic? Done. We'll go back. And you'll see the basic performance profile here at the bottom as a custom performance profile back to the aircraft. And we will go down a little bit. And we will put in, where did it go? Altitude. So right here, when you see default cruise altitude, later on, we will see how that default cruise altitude plays into building a flight plan. But I want you to understand that when you are building a flight plan, the number that is used as kind of the number that pops up, call it a default cruise altitude, it comes from right here. So if you want to modify this, if you always fly at 4,000 feet instead of 6,000 feet, you can put that in here. And when you're creating a flight plan, it will default in at that altitude. Right. Okay. Let's, it might have pulled stuff in. Go ahead.
And just a reminder, look, so Tim is doing an excellent job explaining everything. If you have any questions about what we're going over or something like that, please feel free to drop a question in there. We do have operators standing by. So don't be shy about asking questions. We certainly want you to be able to walk away with this, having the questions that you have in the back of your head answered. And I won't call you out by name if you ask a question, if you're worried about that. So.
You mean Bob from Boise?
Bob from Boise, except for, sorry, I feel bad about Bob.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Dave from Detroit.
Okay. We could go on all day with that, Tim.
Yes, we could. I know. Okay, ICAO equipment. So we're gonna skip the FAA equipment. We are not using the FAA filing format anymore. Everyone uses the ICAO filing format, and you'll notice some of this is pre-filled in, and that is because our system has gone out and pulled what we've put in previously. But I want to go through this one at a time. You'll tap ICAO equipment. And you'll go through, we don't have distance measuring equipment, so we're going to remove that.
You don't have a standalone DME is what you're saying.
A standalone DME that is an actual DME, not based on GPS range. It's got to be the slant range DME.
Right, so the little tiny box with the little gold numbers that you can't read anyways.
That is correct.
Yes, that's the one.
That's the one.
They put it on my side of the airplane.
There's a reason for that.
I know.
Okay. So we do have GPS. This aircraft, a Cessna 172 with an HF radio, okay, maybe. So we're going to continue on through here. You'll see ILS and VOR, really, and VHF down here. Those are considered standard equipment. So if you have a VOR, VHF, and ILS, you'll throw in S for standard equipment. I'm going to remove that PBN.
That's not going to let you do it because you got those codes in there, but that's okay.
I do. Well, I can show that later. And there's no Cessna 172 that's going to hit RVSM altitudes, MNPS. You might have 8.33 radios if you are over in Europe. So we're going to click out of that. And we'll go down to the next one, which is Iko Surveillance. This is where you'll input your ADS-B. So if you happen to be ADS-B in and out, you'd select B2. That's for 1090. If you're UAT, you'll come down here to U1, U2, and you should really only select either UAT or 1090 if you happen to have both. Then you'll select your transponder type. So if you're a Mode S transponder, you'll select that one right there. We'll click out of here. We'll go on down to ICAO PBN. So this is performance-based navigation. And really what you're doing is you are telling ATC what your aircraft equipment is actually capable of. If you're not capable of, and in fact, if you're not certified RNAV1, don't put that in there. And if you don't understand what these things are, you don't need them. You don't need to have all this here in order to file a flight plan.
Well, not VFR flight plan, certainly.
Well, not a VFR flight plan, but if you do intend to use RNAV procedures, RNAV SIDs, RNAV stars, you are going to have RNAV1 designated in the PBN code. So if you are RNAV1 capable, I mean, don't just throw this in here. You will want to input, say for our example, a GPS. And it's a GPS that's certified and it's in the aircraft, not the GPS that's associated with your iPad. You'll select D2, which is done here. And that'll allow us to file RNAV SIDs and stars. And
I know Tim's getting into this PBN stuff, and it may not be applicable to you, or you just may not understand ICAO and the PBN real well. As Tim mentioned before, ICAO filing made easy goes really deep into this subject. I try to explain it as deeply as possible. It's incredibly boring, but
you're going to need a pot of coffee.
You're going to need a pot of coffee for it. And we also touch on it in the one that Tim and I did about a year ago, filing IFR with ForeFlight. We will touch on that as well. So for a deeper dive, you can find those webinars in there.
And, you know, we have this fantastic fanatical team of support personnel who are pilots, by the way.
That's right.
And you can contact them at team@foreflight.com. Or if you happen to have a question right now regarding this, you can type it in and one of the individuals that we have helping us out will answer your question.
Right.
Okay, moving along, we have some other information here, which is not really important. Same with the STS information. Dinghy. This is where you put in your additional flotation stuff, your life raft, that kind of thing. Emergency equipment with life jackets, radios. If you're flying in the United States, you should have an ELT. Moving along, survival equipment. And Nav Canada requires some additional information that flying in the United States does not. So we've now built our aircraft.
Okay, so we got a question here about this, and good question here. And this person is asking, once I build the profile, can I lock it to prevent inadvertent changes? I mean, we don't have a lock or a save feature because of the way we have sync set up. Right. So you get it in here, you get it saved, and then just don't go in.
Yeah, don't go back in.
Don't go in and mess with it. Don't give the iPad to your kid and say, hey, go play with ForeFlight. Had that happen. So no, there isn't like a lock, at least not on the individual subscriptions. Now, if you get into,
going to get into the business subscriptions and multi-pilot accounts, and then you can do a published thing. And I mean, there's some restrictions there.
There is, but for an individual subscription, no, there is no lock. Yeah. So hopefully, hope that's enough. Yeah, so hopefully that answers.
So there we go.
That and if we didn't, keep asking questions and we'll keep firing back answers.
Okay, so we're going to build a flight plan now. We come over to the maps page, and you can see we have the aeronautical map up here. Up on the upper left-hand side, you can tap, and you'll get a drop-down. On the left-hand side of the drop-down are the different charts that are available. On the right-hand side are different overlays that are available. So, for example, if I wanted radar, which won't show anything right now, I could click on radar. If I wanted to have traffic, which is pretty nice, I could tap on traffic, and I could get additional information. We're not going to do that now. I don't want to clutter the map up. Going further over, the FPL. This is the flight plan editor. You can tap on that and get something, or tap it and then make it disappear. Go one more over. These are the settings. And you can go through here and make changes to any settings on this chart or on this page. One more over. Here we go. Come on. So artificial horizon, if you are tied into
Sentry.
It was going to say an AHRS type device, you'll get additional feed into here and it'll feed it the information that you need.
Right.
This is not available for basic subscription, but for the upper level subscriptions, it is. Moving along, right here, you'll see the instruments pop up on the bottom. And you can go through, you're seeing it's actually starting to pull some data in.
Yeah, I know.
If you want to make a change, you can tap on any of the instruments and go through and select from a variety of the instruments. Because I'm flying with Rob today, I'm keeping the G meter to see how hard that landing is.
Tim didn't think I could bounce that thing over a cow.
Yeah, that G meter just pegged on that one. Anyway, okay. So while the instruments are helpful in flight, we are in the planning stage and we're going to put that away. One more over. This is a favorite routes. So if you happen to fly a particular city pair on a regular basis and you happen to have something that you like,
hit that button because I want to hit on something, or keep going.
Okay,
I want to touch on something real quick.
Why don't you go ahead and touch on it?
Yeah. So, okay, let's just say you go from West Houston to Aspen, and you're flying that second one down, and you're using the Bourne 4 departure.
Right.
If there's an update, if you start getting rejections on a route that's a saved route, make sure that you don't have a departure in there that is expired. Like you had the Bourne 4, but it's actually turned into the Bourne 5. It will continue to generate that because it doesn't update in the favorite flights.
Right.
It'll update on your iPad.
Right. And you won't catch it. You'll go ahead and file it. And then my team, flight operations team, will see a rejection message, as will you. And we'll try and reach out to you and let you know that you need to update Bourne 4 to Bourne 5, which you may have already done, but because it's in the saved routes, it's kind of a gotcha. Yeah, because you might think, oh, I've already updated it, but it doesn't change in the saved route. So that's a gotcha that we figured out, and I wanted to bring it up on this one. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. No, go ahead. You're going to get to it. There was a question about, so I'll prime it for you. So there was a question, should I build different profiles for an IFR airplane and a VFR? So maybe I think what he's asking is, if I have one airplane and I'm going to fly at VFR and I'm going to fly at IFR, should I build two different profiles, or are you going to show me how to do it all with one? No, there's no need to build two different aircraft profiles to do that type of flight. In fact, here in a minute, we'll show you how you can do IFR or VFR with the same aircraft load. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. I hope that answers his question. He'll shoot something. Well, hopefully he'll reach back out. Seemed like a nice enough guy. Fair enough. Okay, so we'll tap on flight plan. We're going to drop down this area here is for the aircraft. We're going to select the one that we just made. You'll notice basic. This is the performance profile that we created, the basic performance profile. If you have others, you can tap on it and you can select any of the other profiles. Remember I spoke about the default cruise altitude. Here's the default cruise altitude. That's where it pulls in. So if you are wondering why it always pulls in 6,000 feet, now you know. It's on the aircraft profile and you can go in and edit that. And that's an IFR altitude as well. It is. Yeah, so be careful of that. Yeah, you'll want to change it if you're flying VFR. Okay, so let's go from Sugar Land to Austin. There we go. And you'll see this, there's a magenta line here underneath. That's just a direct. If we want to utilize the route advisor, we'll come over here to the right. There's a procedure advisor here and a route advisor. We're going to tap on route advisor. And you'll notice it pulls up a few different routes that are available. And this is a recommended route at the top. And then we have some ATC cleared routes. And then at the bottom is a routing that is only for only airways. And as we go through these, we're going to want to make sure that we select the correct one or what's best for our flight. Say we're in a little piston aircraft. If we wanted to do this Bourne 4 Newer Wheelie 6, we see that it's been cleared today. It's been cleared 342 times total in the last 28 days.
I think it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Eric's. Anyway, but we notice this is turboprop and jet, which means that either the Born 4 or the Wheelie 6 is restricted to that aircraft type. And us being a little Cessna 172, we are in a piston. We cannot do turboprop or jet procedures. We'll go down one more. IDU1, IDU, CWK, cleared last Friday, 22 times total. Turboprop piston. Hey, that piston's important. We'll go ahead and select it.
Right. So we see this. This is probably one of the top ticket generators for flight operations. If you try to file a flight plan and you get an error that says SID not eligible or star not eligible, it is because you have selected like maybe you're in a piston and you've selected a turboprop or a jet only. So if you see that, don't just try to refile. Don't just keep hitting.
Go and look at the procedures that you're actually trying to file and see what restrictions there might be on there.
Right. It's going to be one of the procedures there.
Correct. So let's go ahead and select this route. And you'll notice that it auto-populated into the flight plan editor here. And we also have the route down here. Let's see. Let's say I don't want to do this this procedure. I'm going to tap on the procedure and I'm going to push it down and it explodes.
And I love it when it does a little puff thing.
You do like that.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay. And you know what? We're going to go VFR today.
Yeah, let's go.
Because it's a nice day. So I'm going to come over here to where the altitude is. I'm going to tap on that. I'm going to select the VFR. And you'll notice that the altitude's changed to the 1,000 plus 500 feet in order to adjust for the VFR altitudes. And you'll notice westerly and easterly. And so that helps us. We can go through, we can go, I'm going to do this at what, 4,500 feet today or 6,500 feet? Let's do, the winds.
I like the winds at 45
feet is a 8-knot headwind. And at 6,500 feet is a 12-knot headwind. Takes us an hour and 19 minutes calculated at 6,500 or an hour and 14 minutes. You know what? I like this one. We're going to go, there we go. And it updates the information for you. Now, we happen to be flying directly through a jump area here, and I don't know if that's going to be active. I may as well just avoid that. I'm going to click on the magenta line, the route line, and I'm going to pull it on down to, let's say, right here, and that'll be out of the way. I'll do that, and it from the right-hand side, you'll see that it asks you to insert different waypoints or a lat long. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, so we get this question a lot, and so what Tim just showed you. So, like a lot of guys, if you're going to go out there and let's just say you're going to try to get your 90-day qualifications, your 3, touch and goes done, and you're just going to stay in the airport pattern, but you still want to get a full weather briefing. You want to be compliant. Of course, we're all good pilots here, and you're like, well, how do I do that? I'm just going to stay in the traffic pattern. Well, what you do is you just very simply is you take a flight from your airport and then just pick a point somewhere on the downwind.
Yeah.
And then use that as your one point on your flight and then back to the airport. And then you can generate a briefing, get all your weather and stuff like that. So that's how that's how you can create something so that you can have a weather briefing for pattern work.
And if you are filing, let's say you're going to go, I don't know, out to a practice area to do a flight, and you're going to return to the same airport, but you want to file a flight plan. You want to be a good pilot, as you were saying. And you just have from Sugar Land to Sugar Land without any waypoints in between. That's going to cause a zero distance area because it doesn't think you're going anywhere. And so you need to have some sort of a waypoint in the practice area, preferably, because that's where you're going, right? So you'll need to have a waypoint in between the airports so that it will know that you're actually going somewhere and it will file correctly. And it'll also do your burns and whatnot. Okay, so back to this. We're going to select the lat long, and you'll see that it entered the information into the route string correctly. We're going to talk about the estimated time of departure. We could tap now, but let's be realistic. We're going later on today, say about that time. Oh, and by the way, here, I'm working in Zulu time because that's just kind of how I work is Zulu. If you want to work in local time, you can tap more settings and change the time from Zulu to local or local to Zulu. And we will close because that's what time we want. Down here at the bottom, let's talk about pack. So the pack function allows you to download all the things that are pertinent for the flight. And this little ring around your routing is a 25 nautical mile ring in case if you need to divert or something in between. And it takes, weather information, fuel prices, but also if you haven't downloaded your charts, it will download the charts that you need for the flight, that kind of thing. I would strongly suggest that when you are creating your flight plan, say the night before and sitting in your favorite armchair at home and have high-speed internet available, you do the pack once you're done. You do the pack there because that's going to be the data heavy portion of it. And then when you're walking out to your aircraft, when you're on the FBO's Wi-Fi, which is not as good as the one at your house, I'm making some assumptions here. You go ahead and hit pack again, and it'll download the latest weather information, which is a much lighter amount of data as opposed to the whole thing. And so it'll be done quickly as opposed to you sitting there thinking you're going to depart, but you're really twiddling your thumbs waiting for it to download.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you had something to say, Rob. Okay. We're not going to pack right now because I don't want to hurt the data load. We're going to go over one more. This little star is to make this a favorite route. Remember up here, we had a bunch of favorite routes. This is how you create a favorite route. You have your route here. You put in the route name, you tap save, and it'll hold it for as long as you want it.
Before you hit send to, let's show one.
Well, I was actually going to hit the Nav Log.
Yeah, show the Nav Log.
Okay, so Nav Log, you can go through here and look at your waypoints, times, burns, that kind of thing. You can move over one more to profile. This is not available on a basic subscription. This is Performance Plus subscription. Here in Texas, we don't really need it. You see some windmills down here, but that's about it. If you happen to be flying on the West Coast or through the Rocky Mountains, this is a lot more important.
Yeah, this could be a game changer for you.
This will help you out. If you see that you're impacting a mountain, maybe you need to change the route of your flight.
Hey, go back to Nav Log. I want to show one little trick here. This is probably more for those of you guys who are doing IFR filing. Let's just say we take off out of Sugar Land on our way to Austin. ATC sees that we're clear of or maybe there's no jumpers out there that day. And they just go, hey, November 1, 2, 3, 4, clear direct Charlie Whiskey Kilo. And you go, oh, okay, great. How do you do that on ForeFlight? Well, here's a great little feature we've got. You just go down to that little arrow and you hit that, and it's going to give you a pop-up, and it's going to say direct CWK or fly that leg. Well, if you hit direct CWK, it's just going to take you from your present position right to that waypoint. Now, you got to understand, Tim and I are in downtown Houston at the ForeFlight World headquarters. So now you can see exactly where Tim and I are. But so it's smart enough to know exactly where you are and give you a direct line. It'll calculate your heading, recalculate your fuel, all that stuff. So it's just a great little feature if you start getting directs from ATC on that. So do you throw Sugar Land back in the front, Tim? So when we go to the filing sequence, we'll get.
That's what I'm doing.
You're way
kind of ahead of you.
You always are.
So. That's why I've got the pot of coffee burning over here. Oh, but it's trying to take us to where we are right now, and then over.
Well, why don't you show them that drag and drop, or you can delete it?
Well, I'll just do the drag and drop. That's more fun.
Okay.
Great. And you know what? Just for giggles, I'm going to put that guy back in there.
Great.
Okay. So. Now we've done our flight plan. We are VFR. Everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and send it over to flights. And to do that, I'm going to tap the little square with the arrow pointing up. That is the send to button. I'll tap that. And it's asking me where it wants me to send it. I want to send it over to flights. So I tap flights, and the computer sends it on over.
All right.
Rob?
Okay, I guess this is where I pick it back up. Across the top here, you got the Nav Log and the briefing. We'll talk about those when we get down to the bottom of this form. But I just want to go through this form as quickly as I can. So when Tim was showing you the map page, that's kind of like a big picture. So you kind of drew the outline of your flight for today. Here's where you fill in the colors. So we've got the departure and the destination, but let's just say we were going to go IFR. We needed to select an alternate. Notice that field is empty. If Tim will click on it, it's going to open up the alternate advisor, and down at the bottom, it's spinning. It's looking for alternates for you, and it's going to try to pick out the best alternates for you. If you don't like what we offer, or if you already know what alternate you want, you can just click on where it says airport code and type in whatever you want there, and that will also give you the option to use that as an alternate. Obviously, we put some color codes in there. Red is bad. It's terrible weather here today.
It is. Why are we going VFR again?
Because you said so. I didn't say I was going with you.
Okay. I'm locked in the office.
You're locked in the office, right? So the blue colors, that's going to be, low. You're going to want to look for something green. Look for green. Green is good. Anything else other than green, I'm not picking.
Green for VFR is good.
Yeah, green for VFR is good.
Red is always bad.
Red is always bad. It's some low stuff there. So anyways, that's how you select the alternates. So just for giggles, pick one in there. And what will happen when you select that as the alternate, since you selected a terrible alternate, the FAA will be immediately advised that you picked a bad alternate. No, just kidding.
What?
Now, what it will do, it will go into your flight plan, and it will calculate the additional fuel and time and all of that. It's going to do it behind the scenes, but that information is going to get calculated in there if you select an alternate. Moving on, we've got the aircraft. Tim's already got it on a basic profile. Make sure that your flight rules are set to whatever flight rule you want there. So if you're going to go IFR, have that. VFR is there.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about YFR, ZFR.
No.
We will talk about DVFR and VFR, DCSFR. Matter of fact, right now.
Yeah. So YFR and ZFR, if you're one of our friends up in Canada or over in Europe, this option is available to you. It's really kind of neat. I wish we had it down here, but we don't. So we're going to just stick to the U.S. domestic stuff. So IFR, VFR are your basics. DVFR, if you're coming in from somewhere, say Mexico or the Bahamas, you're going to need to file a defense VFR flight plan.
You're crossing the ADIZ.
Because you are crossing the ADIZ. And in the interest of time, there is no ADIZ between the United States and Canada.
That is correct.
We are all together within the ADIZ. So you don't need a DVFR coming from Canada to the US. You just file one of the IFR or VFRs.
Correct.
Mexico, Caribbean, if you've got a super long range airplane that can do VFR from Spain, well, God bless you, go for it. You're going to still need a DVFR flight plan coming in from Spain.
Yeah, but if you still have that super long range aircraft and you happen to be flying from, say, the lower 48 up to Alaska or back, and you're not stopping in Canada, you still don't need the ADIZ.
Very good point there, Tim. Yes. And
I suppose unless if you're crossing out over the ocean.
Yeah, you don't want to
take that'd be a weird divert, but whatever.
The VFR DC SFRA flight plan, that is only for those of you who fly around the Washington, D.C. area and are flying either in the DC SFRA or the FRZ. And that is a completely different subject that I'm not even going to go into, but
yeah, it's a deep dive.
It's a very deep dive, and I've made a webinar on it that will show you how to do it legally.
You made a webinar, Rob. What's the webinar's name?
Why'd you have
filing in the DCS?
Yeah, filing. Just do a check. Can't do a check under DCSFRA, and it'll come up in the ForeFlight webinars. But it will show you how to do it legally and how to do it in ForeFlight. And once you've done it once or twice, it's actually simple once you have it explained to you. So
in this case, we're just going to stay on VFR.
Please. All right.
Okay. Let's move
it's going to show you your route. It's again going to give you the option to select a route. You're not going to want to do that because we're just doing VFR. Down here, this is where we've got our cruise altitude, the people on board. If you want to add another person, you just do it here. Fuel policy, if you're a basic subscriber, you're not going to see all these options.
Yeah.
So if you have a basic subscription, you're not going to see all the same options that Tim has here. So just keep that in mind.
But maybe a good thing to show people that there are other options with different subscriptions.
There are other options.
They are here.
Yeah, so you can set a fuel policy for a minimum fuel required is going to give you your minimum VFR requirements. Correct. If you're doing IFR, it's going to give you minimum IFR requirements.
There you go.
We're going to try to keep you legal here.
And you see the fuel for the alternate right here.
Yeah, good call.
Okay.
So we'll continue down. It's going to give you all that. This next thing down here, FBO. So if you're going to be going over to Austin and you're going to be using Atlantic Aviation, it's going to give you the air to ground frequency. You can also pick if there's more than one there.
You just tap the little arrow.
And you can look at the fuel price, or if you know one of them has better cookies than the other, you can select that. And what that will do.
Atlantic is the cheapest.
what that will do is that will load all the information for the FBO in there.
I'm not sure why it didn't. Select, there it goes.
Thank you. It'll give you the air to ground frequency. And then if you're looking at this on your cell phone, you can just hit the little phone thing and it will call the FBO or give you directions, or you can email them or give you information. So you can also put in a fuel order. You can find out more about that on the pilot's guide. So, and down here at the fuel log, this is where you can put in your start fuel. Obviously it's going to take your start fuel from what you put in ForeFlight, but you can put your ending fuel and it will do the calculation for you.
The math.
Yep.
Great. Okay.
Same thing with the times. If you know your starting hobs, plug it in there at start. And then when you finish, put in your ending hobs. It will do the math for you. I love this feature because math is my weak spot, which is why I went into aviation. So,
yeah.
Right?
Okay. Back to pack.
Back to pack. It gives you another chance to pack the airplane. And like Tim said, I always do it. The last thing I do before I walk out of the FBO and go to the little pilot's room is I hit that pack button to get the absolute latest information. Hey, just in case a TFR comes up or a
You never know,
SIG, right? You don't know. I want to have that information at my disposal in ForeFlight. So if we're satisfied with that, we're going to go down. We're going to hit the proceed to file button. This is just a broken up version of an ICAO flight plan. So you want to make sure that your form type says ICAO, which it will default to now.
Right.
Your flight rules are correct. And you're just going to go through here and make sure everything is correct.
Yeah. And it's really easy. Once you do all this, it will automatically format the flight plan for you.
Right.
So this will take care of you.
Yep. So after you scroll through here and you've got everything just the way you want it, this is also where you would add a remark. So if you were coming in from Mexico, this is where you would put ADCUS. Or let's just say you're out doing some IFR training and you got a safety pilot with you. This is where you put in request practice ILS at airport XYZ. And it gives the controllers a little bit of a heads up type deal.
Okay.
So let's go down to the contact information, Tim. Okay. So this is something that it may seem silly. It may seem like it's not important, but it really kind of is. Make sure in the pilot information, you're going to want to make sure that you put in your name, your email address,
email address.
Yeah, email address.
You don't need your actual address.
Right. And your phone number.
And the phone number is really important here.
Right.
Because if there's an issue, someone on my team will try to reach out to you. So if you're having problems and we see that you're having problems, you might see a phone call coming in with a 713 or 832 area code, and you'll want to pick that up because that's somebody from my team trying to reach out to you to help you out.
Right. And also if there's an issue, that's also the number that ATC is going to be able to reach out to you.
That's correct.
So make sure it's your cell phone. Don't use your office number. Don't use your landline at home.
Yeah, don't put your secretary's number in there.
Don't, just make sure and I know you all have cell phones because if you have ForeFlight, you got a cell phone. So make sure you put your cell phone number in there. Don't put your license in there. You don't need to put, the FAA already knows that, and your address. So just put all the pertinent information, name, email, and you need the email because that's where we're going to send the briefing to. So
yeah. I'm trying to. Sorry, Hank. Just throwing something in real quick.
So after you hit the file button, right, you're going to get this pop-up box. Give this a read over, please, because what it's doing is it's just telling you, are you ready to file this plan? And are you ready to file it for this time? We've seen a lot of people who've just, fat fingered the departure time.
Right. And just blow through it.
Right. And they don't notice that it says, are you ready to file for a flight in 5 minutes or 5 days from now? Make sure it jives with when you really expect to be at the airport getting in the airplane. If it does, go ahead and hit file and
green check mark.
We're going to get a green check mark. And there we go. Now, great. Right. Okay. So we've filed a VFR flight plan. So what has happened to that flight plan?
Well, so for VFR flight plans, they go into a box with your, hypothetical box. And until you hit activate, that flight plan remains in that box. And that flight plan is still valid for 2 hours after you file your flight. So let's say your estimated departure time is 2 in the afternoon and you end up dragging a little bit and it's 2:30. you can still activate the flight plan with the 2:30 time. You don't need to go back and make amendments to it. It's still there.
Right. And really, yeah, so a VFR flight plan is really, it's a search and rescue feature.
Correct.
It really is. So just remember, when you hit that activate button, if you say the flight's going to be 2 hours, that clock, that 2 hour timer starts counting down when you hit that activate button. So,
and make sure that you are on Wi-Fi when you do that,
or you have a strong cellular signal.
Right. Yeah. You need to make sure that you're communicating on the internet somehow.
Right. And that's especially important when you're closing your flight plan.
Very
Please,
important.
if you're landing in an uncontrolled airfield, please make sure that when you hit that close button, that you are connected well to the internet. And if there's any doubt,
You can always call FSS.
call flight service. Yeah, and get it, because otherwise they're going to start looking for you, and they'll start waking up Tim's team.
Creates a whole nother problem. And if you happen to be filing in Canada, just real quick, Canada does not have the activate button, because in Canada, the way things work with VFR flight plans is as the time that you say is your estimated time of departure, that is when the flight plan activates.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So if you are going to be late and you're in Canada, you do need to make an amendment. You do need to change that.
Right. All right. So that's a VFR flight plan. But we had a question come in, and I think one of the guys answered it. But I think this is really important. We neglected to talk about it. So if you put in your name and your phone number and your email address in a flight plan and you file it, it will, ForeFlight's going to save that information.
It will.
It will save it. So you don't have to enter it every time. Just get it in right that first time, file that flight plan. And then when you pull up your next flight plan, that information is already going to be filled out, because look, nobody likes busy work.
Right.
Right.
It stays.
It stays in there. But if you get a new cell phone or you change your email address, make sure you go in there and update it.
Yep.
So I thought that was a great question. So I want to make sure everybody heard it. All right. So Tim, let's cancel this. So to cancel, it's real simple. Just hit cancel. Are you sure? Yes. Goodbye. Now let's do IFR real quick. We've got time.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to go up and change this to an IFR flight plan. And you already started hitting on this. You got ahead of me again, big guy.
Sorry, man.
And we're just going to talk about some of the little tricks about IFR. So Tim's going to switch over to IFR, and then we're going to go through the same thing. We've got an alternate down there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. Let's change our cruise altitude. Let's put it at, that's fine. 4,000 is fine.
Okay.
It's a short flight. And then we're going to be ready to proceed to file.
Okay.
All right.
Proceed to file.
So it's going to look just like it did for the VFR. Hit proceed to file. We're going to get the pop-up box.
But it shows this plan change.
Yeah. So don't worry about it. The syntax and the wording is kind of weird.
So should I hit ignore here?
No. You don't want to hit ignore. You want to hit copy.
Copy the information over. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you hit ignore, when you make changes, it will disregard those changes, and that's not really what you want. What you want to do is copy the changes from what you just did over to the filing form. So we're going to hit copy.
Right.
And you'll notice up at the top, flight rules are IFR. Sorry, I'm stealing your.
No, keep going, man. You're doing great.
Okay.
And we've got the altitude, don't we?
Oh, wait, where did the altitude go? Yeah, right there.
It's right down there, Tim.
Okay. And we kept the remark. That's good. We're going to run on through here. It's all the information. May I hit file?
Yes. Go ahead and hit file. I was just
sorry. I was.
I'm doing the math in my head.
You're squinting.
Are we actually filing this for too close? I don't want this to go live.
No, we're good. We're good.
Go ahead and hit
Trust
file.
Me, I got hours.
All right.
As a matter of fact, it tells you right here.
2 hours and
2 hours and
54
minutes. So
right.
we're good. Okay. So I'm going to hit file.
So when he hits file, an IFR flight plan, it's going to go direct to ATC, and
it does. This is a different animal.
This is a completely different animal. Now, here's some things that if you're an IFR pilot and you're using ForeFlight to file, which I hope you are, here's some things you really need to understand. First of all, when you see an expected route come in, a lot of times it's going to be the same route that you filed, okay? Now, if you get an expected route, all we're telling you there is that ATC may offer you this route. It does not mean that your route has been changed in the system. They're just saying
just a possibility.
You could get this. Okay. So if you hit update, here's the danger. If you hit update, it's going to change the route in ForeFlight, but it does not file that new route. Right. So if they come back and say cleared as filed, they're thinking about the previous route.
The
So
one that you actually
the
filed,
one that you
not
actually filed. So
this
be very
updated
careful and give that some thought. I personally, I go, hey, that's great information. I don't
I do. I hit
update,
cancel.
but I like having that expected route down there because then you can hit the use button.
Correct. And so you'll notice, just in case if there's any kind of question about what's filed and what's expected, you can go up here to this portion of the plan. And if they say, hey, proceed as filed, you can look and you can see you are filed on this route right here. This is what you're doing. This is what you're going to use.
Right. So just be cognizant of what they actually clear you for. So we've had people think, cleared as filed is the expected route, and it's not. And they've gone off. I don't think they've gotten a GNE on it, but you don't want to do that. Now, another thing to remember about filing in ForeFlight, when you hit the file button, if the flight is going to occur within 22 hours of when you hit the file button, it immediately goes to ATC.
Yes.
If it's outside of 22 hours, it's going to go into the holding pen. And at 22 hours prior, we will release it to ATC. So just keep that in mind. So if you're within 22 hours of your flight, and let's just say you're flying and you decide you want to go an hour early, you don't need to refile. The flight plan is in the system. Get on the horn, call ATC and say, hey guys, I know I'm early. Can you see if you got a flight plan in the system for blah, 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 blah.
And if they're busy, they might not hear I'm early. Mm-hmm. And so make sure you let them know, hey, by the way, my estimated departure time was this.
Good point. Yes.
And it'll let them know that they need to go and kind of dig for it because the strip might not be printed yet.
Right. The strip may not be printed and it may be hours in advance, but it will be in the system 22 hours prior. Now, conversely, if you're running late and you're running up to, Tim, I'm going to hold on. I'm going to try to change that. I'm going to change that over. If you're running up to,
it depends on the FIR that you're filing through.
That's correct. It depends on that.
Generally, it's 2 hours. Rob's going to put up a little sheet here.
Once I find where I put it here. Yeah. So, anyways,
click on it. Yeah. Okay.
If you're filing in most ATC centers, your flight plan is going to remain in the system for up to 120 minutes. So you've got 2 hours after your proposed ETD to go, and they'll still have it in the system. So if you're 45 minutes late, don't refile. You're just going to run into problems. If you're running early, just call them up and say, I'm running early. If you're outside of 2 hours, your flight plan is going to drop out of the system.
And you'll need to refile.
Now, here's the killer. Here's the thing that gets a lot of pilots. With depending on the center that you're dealing with, most of them are 46 minutes. If you are within 46 minutes of your estimated departure time, the FAA, not ForeFlight, this is the FAA's rule. The FAA will not allow you to cancel or amend a flight plan within 46 minutes of your departure time if you're filing electronically. So instead, you have to get on the phone, call your friendly flight service guy at your local center, and tell him whatever change you need to make. And they're very helpful. They're more than happy to help you out there. But
or if you happen to be in the airplane, clearance delivery.
Or you can just get on the radio and do it through clearance delivery. But you can't make any changes or cancellations if you are within 46 minutes of your departure. Some places are longer, like Indianapolis is 60 minutes. I think Boston is 55, New York is 61, but the vast majority of them are 46 minutes. Like here in Houston, it's 46 minutes. Atlanta is 46 minutes. So just please keep that in mind. If you see an error come up and you can't figure out why, well, are you within 46 minutes of your departure time? That is why. All right. Let's very quickly, because we're running short on time.
So let's move through this quickly.
Let's go up to the top and look at the nav log and the briefing. And while you're getting up there, one person is asking about.
Are we talking briefing or nav log?
What do you got there? You got the briefing. Great.
Yeah, great.
So here's the briefing. Briefing is going to start off with your basically your flight plan sheet here. It's going to show you your nav log and all this good stuff is going to be pre-calculated for you. So if you're a student pilot and you use this, you're cheating. You should have to do it the old way like I did. I'm sorry.
With an E6B and an abacus?
Yeah, exactly. In a snow cave up north.
There you go.
So it's going to give you all that. And if you keep going, it's going to show you the weather. Right? It's going to show you the airport diagrams. It's going to show you a copy of the ICAO, and it's going to give you all your weather charts. It's going to give you your significant weather charts. It's going to give you all the stuff you need, your TAFs, your METARs. It's going to give you a full and complete and legal weather briefing. So if you click on the briefing, that is what you're going to get. Also, if you don't want to see all the weather, you can just hit the Nav Log. And it's just going to simply just give you the Nav Log. And that's nice to have printed out. If you have to write notes, if you're doing a cross country, and you got to
throw it on the
figure that stuff out there, right? So question here on I think that's all I really wanted to talk about there. Okay. So I'm going to hit 2 questions that are in there, and then I'm going to let you do the final. On a VFR flight plan, when should I hit the activate button? Well, let me tell you, here's how I do it. I like to plan on the iPad just because it's easier to see and my eyes are terrible. But I also have ForeFlight on my phone.
Yep.
And my phone has cellular. So what I do is when I finish doing the run up, I pull up ForeFlight and I hit the activate button. Then and
on the cell phone.
Yeah, on the cell phone, and I'm usually coming out of Sugar Land, which has a tower, and then I roll. But I just make that a habit. That is when I activate my flight plan, is when I finish doing the run up. So make sure you have cellular, or worst case scenario, if you don't have cellular, do it just as you're leaving the FBO and get out and get airborne quick because the clock is ticking. Second thing, somebody asked, and this really isn't for really for the new user, but I'll bring it up anyways. They were asking about FMS Uplink, and we do offer that for performance level subscriptions. Yes. You can do FMS data link uplink to your airplane. We offer it for various vendors. And just send us an email at
team@foreflight.com.
Very good, Tim. So it's almost like we planned that one.
Yeah, well, you pointed at me and I got it.
That's very good. All right, so I think that's everything I wanted to cover. Tim had his your flying safety tip for the month, and I'm going to let him roll with that.
PSA here. So we're going to start something new. Pilot safety announcement. How about that? Hey, just some ideas. You're something to keep in mind when you're flying. Let's say that you're flying into a new airport, or an airport that you're used to that doesn't have a PAPI or VASI, and you're coming in at night and you happen to notice that the runway lights are twinkling. And you go, oh, that's weird. I wonder if something's going on with the runway power, the power to the airport. Why are those runway lights twinkling? It's not the power to the airport. There's something between your aircraft and the runway lights, and it's probably trees. So if you see runway lights twinkling, add power, climb until you don't see them twinkling anymore, because you don't want to hit the trees.
Very good.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's all the time we've got. There's a just want to give a shout out to Derek and John, who helped us behind the scenes doing the QA. I want to also thank Jay and Sam, who are patient beyond their belief.
Yeah, they're the ones that really keep us on track.
Try to get all this audio and stuff set up for us, so we can't thank those two enough. Again, if you guys have any questions, please reach out to us. team@foreflight.com. The FlightOps guys are 24/7 and chomping at the bits to talk airplane to you, whether it's about a VFR filing or an IFR filing. Great bunch of very experienced guys, dispatchers, pilots. We got ATC guys. We get them from all over the place, and we only take the best of the best.
Yeah, we love talking aviation stuff.
Right, which makes me wonder.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here. We talk airplanes because that's all we know how to do. But most of all, we want to thank each and every one of you who attended today. It's because of you that we are here and we get to have these cool jobs. So thank you for using ForeFlight, and be careful out there. And
if the runway lights are twinkling, add power
and climb. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Have a good one. Bye.